Rev it up and welcome to Cars Yeah, show number 1218.
Just go with your gut. Follow your gut.
This is Cars Yeah, where you'll enjoy interviews with inspiring automotive enthusiasts. Mark Green is here to provide you with a fuel injection of automotive inspiration. So get in, sit down, buckle up, and get ready for a wild ride here on Cars Yeah.
Hello, automotive enthusiasts. I'm revved up and so excited to introduce today's very special guest. Calling in from beautiful California, Jay Ryan. Hey, Jay, are you buckled up and ready for a fun ride?
Hello there, Mark. 5-point on, ready. Good to go.
Hopefully we won't need that 5-point seatbelt, but you never know on Cars Yeah.
Mark. I've heard.
Yeah. Don't share anything. Jay Ryan and his lovely wife Nicole produce and host on YouTube the It's Tonight Show. Through the show, he combines his love for contemporary car culture and a very, very obsession, I should say, with the classic talk and variety show. Jay has worked in and around television in his career, and he's been an automotive enthusiast his entire life. He threw Nicole a curveball when he decided to combine these two passions and create the It's Tonight Show. Together, Jay and Nicole interview celebrities, comedians, musicians, automotive enthusiasts, and creative and inspirational figures to share their messages, their lives, share a little peace, a little love, and a little positivity. Jay, I've told our listeners just a little bit about you. Would you take a brief moment, share a little more about your cool business and a very obvious passion for automobiles?
Absolutely. First of all, Mark, this is an absolute pleasure. And I feel like this is a big deal the way you just introduced me. So thank you.
You are a big deal, Jay. You are.
The one thing I would like to just make a note of, I didn't so much throw my lovely wife, Nicole, a curveball, so much as life threw us a curveball. My lovely wife, Nicole, has MS. She was diagnosed a few years ago. She used to be a Hollywood publicist representing comedians and athletes, etc. Pretty high echelon status. And, she wasn't able to do that anymore. I came up, I used to be a producer in television and commercials, and I wanted to be with my wife. So we decided, what can we do? What should we do? Like you, Mark, we decided to work from home so that we could be near one another. And everyone was doing podcasts. So we started doing a podcast with 2 microphones at our dining room table. And less than a year later, we're sitting at David Letterman's desk in chairs and having, celebrities and comedians and musicians over to our home. So it was just the curveball thing was the only thing that was different. Other than that, I love cars, Porsche specifically, but pretty much all cars. And we incorporate as much of that into our show as possible.
This is cool. I love the story. And Stan Kaplan, who's been a guest on my show, shout out to Stan. He's the one that introduced me to Jay and started watching your videos, your YouTube videos. I'm like, this is pretty cool. It's just car. And you've had some of my past guests on your show. We talked a little bit about Magnus Walker being on your show. He's been a guest here a couple times. So I'm excited to share what you do with my listeners as we continue on this journey we call your life, though. I always start with a success quote or a mantra. This is a saying that somewhat instrumental in forming your life and your success and your direction. It's a nice way to get the inspirational tires turning here on Cars Yeah. So Jay, take the wheel.
It's so funny. I'm one of those people who I'm kind of a walking conundrum myself. We were talking a little bit before the show, Mark, about how I don't really fit into a category, and taking inspirational quotes has never been my thing. What I tend to do is, for instance, if I may, I don't have a favorite band or a favorite album, but I have songs I love from musicians all over the spectrum. I tend to just pick and choose as I like without fitting into the boxes and categories. I find what I like from people, and I take the nugget of it that appeals to me, and then I form it into something bigger that I think is, perhaps more usable for the masses. You brought up Magnus right before you started with this question. I'll say that he has a fantastic thing where he just says, just go with your gut, follow your gut. There are a million different ways to say that. Perhaps my personal one is not listening to others. Don't worry about what other people have to say. Don't worry about what all the other peoples have to say. But I would have to say in that one, the short answer would probably just be Magnus Walker with just go with your gut. You got to follow your own instincts.
I'm so glad you didn't say dirt don't slow me down, because I know and so Magnus and I kind of share these alter egos of he doesn't care about dirt. I go insane if there's a fleck of dust on my car. So I told you before we started this show, he's the brother from another mother. Our hair is quite the opposite as well, which is part of it. But you already you told me before we started this too. There's kind of a saying you have about your YouTube show.
It's just our hashtag in general. It kind of goes with the story I just told you about my wife and myself and the path that we were dealt and what we chose to do with it. The hashtag we use most often with our Porsche life is "Live it while you got it." Live it while you got it. And to us, it's moment to moment, second to second. It's not. We think about it a couple times a day. I mean, it's in our DNA at this point.
Well, of course. And, my love to your wife, Nicole, and the challenges she has with that health issue. If you go back and listen to some of my old shows where I was interviewed, my listeners, regular listeners will know part of what started me on this path of podcasting was a very serious illness my wife had. And I had to stay home for the year and care for her. She was in bed for months and couldn't walk. And so,
Mark, no, I didn't know any of this, but it sounds very similar.
Yeah, different kind of thing, but it's one of these things when you're married, and I've been married, this year it'll be 35 years. I mean,
congratulations to both of you.
Yeah, thanks. You make a dedication to that person in sickness and in health. I seem to remember those lines when I was standing up there at the altar on the hottest day ever recorded in La Jolla, California, sweat running down my back going, if this wasn't my wedding, I wouldn't be here.
The universe made sure you'd remember it, Mark. That's what I like to say.
Is that what was? Oh,
that's what I like to say. We had some of those ourselves.
There you go. I like that. I'm going to share a little something with you. My son, in his wisdom, when he was 8, we took a great road trip, and I picked up this Beck Spider from John Wilhoit, that's down beautiful. Not too far from you. He built this beautiful car, and we were driving back, and the first night we stopped, and we were covering the car, and I said, "Oh no, we got a chip in the paint." And he puts his, because that's me. I mean, if it was Magnus, he'd go, "Cool, dude. Wish it was bigger." And he puts his hand on my shoulder. This is an 8-year-old, right? And he said, "Dad, that's not a chip. That's a memory mark. That will remind us forever the fun we had today in this car."
I think your son's onto something.
It almost choked me up saying it now because the wisdom there was so great. And to this day, there's a chip in my wife's windshield from a day she took my son to a track meet that she'll never forget. And she will not let me put a new windshield in her car because that chip reminds her. It's the memory mark, right? Memory mark. So
I didn't used to always feel that way, Mark, just so you know this about me and so that the listeners do too. I used to be the brand new lease of whatever the newest M4 or whatever the heck, the shiniest brand new thing ever there was. And then when our life changed, my priorities did as well. And driving the car became much more important to me than polishing it, which I used to love the 6 hours in the garage on Sunday once. So I used to love it. It was cathartic. I enjoyed it. I can't think of anything I'd less rather do right now, but I'd rather grab those, or I can say that I would love to every Friday grab those keys and my wife get in that car, go up Angeles Crest and spend that time actually enjoying it and putting miles on it and spending time with people and nature and, having real experiences places.
Jay, maybe, what time has done for you and I has made us a little more wise. I think, I'm the same
way.
way.
That's the case.
Yeah. Well, I hope I'm a little wiser too. I'm trying to be, that's for sure. But yeah, I don't spend as much time polishing and wiping anymore either. I try to get out and drive.
But man, it was important to me. I want you to know that, Mark. It was very important.
Well, good.
At one point.
Okay. I know. Me too. Me too. But priorities do change. Well, let's talk about cars a little bit here, and I'd love for you to share a story that instigated that passion you have for cars. I know you're a Porsche guy, which is good for my heart because I'm a Porsche guy too. Is there a pivotal moment in your life when you knew you were indeed a car guy?
It's interesting. My memories of cars just go so deep, so early. I would have to say probably, now this is, I remember the moment, but really these days it's more of the photograph, you know how that goes over time. There's an image of me, of my father holding me, couldn't have been more than maybe 3-4 years old, at the Danbury Fair in Danbury, Connecticut. This is no longer in existence. There's a mall and an airport there now. But in front of Paul Newman's Planters race car.
Ooh. I
grew up in Connecticut. Paul Newman was a neighbor, local celebrity. He was the salad oil guy, the popcorn guy.
Oh yeah. Yep. Still have those. Got those in my pantry right now. Yeah.
Long before all of the other things that they make as well. And there was something about cars way back at that age. My dad, he wasn't not into cars. He owned a few cool cars, but he wasn't, I would say, super into cars. But something about that picture was like, we went home and we started drawing the car that we saw, and My dad taught me how to draw at the same time. So I think there's a lot of car stuff mixed in with my dad. So there's a lot of the heartstrings and all that stuff. The moment I would have to say Danbury Fair and the Paul Newman Planter's car.
Wow.
Yeah.
Nice start.
I had to think that right now, though, because that's not what I would have said 5 minutes before we shot this.
Well, that's a pretty cool story. I mean, that's pretty neat. And the fact that it was with your father combines that ingrainedness that is in your skull. Yeah, me too. For me, it was my dad in his 49 MGTC riding in that car in the left seat because it was a right-hand drive. That was pretty cool.
That's very cool.
Yeah, and he had a spare steering wheel that he'd let me hold. So when we pulled up next to people, I could pretend like I was driving, and it would freak them out because I was like 5 years old.
What year was that car?
1949 MGTC.
Wow, that is so cool.
Yeah, fun stuff. So cool. Well, let's take a look at some of the roads you've driven down and talk about a big challenge or a big failure that you faced that was a defining moment perhaps in your life or your career. These are wonderful learning lessons if we look at them that way. They might not feel so good at the time, but they do teach us valuable things. And perhaps together today through this story, we can help someone else that might be going through the same thing.
This is where the nervousness of doing an audio-only podcast comes in, because I don't find myself to be as eloquent as, say, a Jordan Peterson, who we talked about before the show. I know what I want to say, but getting it out to you, what it came down to for me was the very simple fact of overcoming a fear. And the fact of the matter is, it wasn't a fear that was relevant in the life I had created for myself. It was, in fact, not a fear at all, because it would never have ever reared its ugly head. I didn't ever put myself in a position where I needed to be in front of anything. So all of a sudden, I'm in a position now where I have to be in front of everything. I have to be the president. I have to campaign. That was a bad example, but you know what I mean? I have to be the head of a company, for lack of a better term. And doing that was a big struggle for me personally. I think I had a lot of hurdles to get over with my childhood obsessions with David Letterman and all of the show stuff that needed to be fulfilled. But really what it was overcoming fear. Once the life took a change and I realized that, oh my goodness, that life I created for myself was a house of cards. I mean, it came down from almost nothing. It was a perspective shift. And all of a sudden that fear became, it was still there, but it was noticeably smaller and it seemed much more manageable. All of a sudden, my fear was like just a little tiny speed bump. It was a hurdle my whole life. And the perspective and letting go of the fear gave me the realization that it really was nothing at all. And I simply picked one foot up over and stepped over it as if it were a puddle. I have found that everything has been that way since. Just as everything had been previously, it's just that this was my one thing. Everybody has that thing. This was my thing. So I guess the long and short of it, Mark, you'll have to cut this down however you can, but overcoming fear in the face of adversity.
Yeah. What comes to mind, my father, when I was younger, I wanted to learn how to surf. And we get the board, you get all, it's like wanting to learn how to race. You get the car, you get the suit, you get the helmet, you get on the track and you go, oh my gosh, I could die out here. And some people get out and they don't like going fast. They're not comfortable with it. So I was the same way. I was a good swimmer. They put me through lifeguard training and all this stuff. So they assured that while I was out there, I knew what I was doing. And I got out there and I was afraid. And I couldn't take off on a wave. And I'm like, oh my gosh, all my dreams are crashing to my face right now, literally in a wave, smashing me in the face. And I came in and he was sitting there and he goes, hey, what happened? And I said, I just kind of broke down and cried. I think I was like 12 years old or something like that. And he said, well, are you afraid of something? And of course, I'm not afraid of anything.
No.
Well, finally I said, yeah, I am. And he said, well, I want you to remember this the rest of your life. He said, fear just means false evidence assumed real, FEAR. And we've all probably heard that, but I think in the sense of what you just shared in your story, there was some false evidence assumed real. You were going to a place in your life with your wife that you'd never been, right?
Yeah, I thought it was a locked door for me, quite frankly.
There you go.
For a lot of reasons that I put there, but I was convinced that it was a locked door. And when I actually finally went to simply go turn the handle, it was not only unlocked, it was ajar the whole time. And in fact, it was waiting to be opened.
Yeah, there you go.
That's a
nice way to put it. Awesome story. Well, I appreciate you taking us to a really, really personal time in your life. I'm sure we helped somebody out there listening.
I hope so.
Well, every day. Yeah, every day for sure.
Yeah.
Let's have a little bit of fun. Not that we weren't, but let's have a little car fun here and talk about your first really special vehicle and share a memory you have about that ride.
Here's where I'm very, very lucky. I had a couple cool cars early on. My first cool car, what I would consider a cool car, would be a BMW E30. It was an 86 325E, with the ETA engine, manual, black with that like bone leather interior. Like
Nice.
I don't know what the actual color was, but just off-white, beautiful.
Yeah. Oh, nice. Tuxedo car.
Yeah, it was fantastic. It was fantastic. And I bought it from a friend who had it for a long time and took good care of it. The reason I was able to buy that car, I was only 18 years old. My dad had just passed away. And it was a weird situation in my life. And again, it's funny how this ties back into the car and the father thing, considering the dad wasn't that into cars. Ironically, David Letterman is why I'm into cars. But this E30, I bought with a little bit of money I'd gotten and some stupid, a lack of smarts that I had also inherited at the same time. And I bought this car, and my God, I loved it. It was the coolest thing ever. I'm telling you, Mark, it was, you know what I mean? You know how that age to have a car like that when you actually you always loved cars previously. And then this was the first opportunity to buy one without any type of parental engagement.
Absolutely. Yeah. I got you.
I bought it. I loved it. I drove it. I should have kept it forever. But if you've got just one more second, I ended up trading it only a year later for a 944 Turbo, which I would consider perhaps the coolest of the early cars I ever had.
Oh, it's a little step up. Yeah. Very, very cool. Well, therein lies the reason why you don't want a young person having too much money at a young age, where the wisdom and guidance isn't there to kind of hold the bit in their mouth a little bit and go, might not be a good idea. Probably isn't a good idea, but still, cool car. I can see it in my mind. Very nice. Well, is there a seller's remorse story in your life? A car that you've let go in your past that you really wish you hadn't done that?
Funny, unintentionally. Yeah, I just let into it, the 944 Turbo, for a million reasons, obviously. We all probably wish we had one today. Even if you're not into them, they're still going up in value. It was a black on black 86 as well, 86 and a half actually, Porsche 951 the story is I was the 19-year-old kid. Only a year later, I was going to Danbury Porsche Audi Volkswagen in Danbury, Connecticut, and I was test driving 993s like they were going out of business. And Porsche was actually, ironically, just about going out of business. And because this was about 1996, something like that. Anyway, they were letting me test drive the cars because I grew up in an area where people had a lot of money. And these guys had no idea that I didn't. And when it came time to, sure, let's do the paperwork or whatever, I mean, they couldn't get the kid with no credit approved on a new car. So anyway, they could see my passion. Long story short, they ended up setting me up with the guy who was the master Porsche technician. He was selling his own car, his daily driver, his beater, his track car that happened to be this Porsche 951. And I bought it from him, and it was a fantastic car. And there was absolutely no reason to get rid of it other than I wanted something newer. And it was that same, you're young, you're inexperienced, and you don't want these things for the reasons that you think you do, etc.
Yeah, exactly.
And anyway, I got rid of it for a 3000 GT, Mark. 3000 GT. I know.
Okay.
I know.
Well, we got it in the show now, Jay. It's been good talking to you. We'll talk to you next time. Don't call me. I'll call you. Goodbye.
Again, I have to say it was like 19, 20 years old, something like that. But brutal. Wish I still had the 944.
Well, the seller's remorse story always brings out a tear in people's eyes and a little thought-provoking and maybe not so fun memories. Sometimes fun memories of great cars, too. That's the other part of it. But we'll move on to my next question. Oh, gosh.
It's an 86 and a half black on black. I wonder where it is today. It's one car. Maybe I'll find it someday. Buy it back.
Well, it's out there probably somewhere. I think they said most of the Porsches ever built are still on the road. So, it's probably out there and being enjoyed by somebody. Well, I would love for you to talk about what has you fired up and excited in this new year with your It's Tonight show on YouTube. You and Nicole are producing some really fun, great content. There's a lot to see there. So what has you excited these days in the new year with your show?
Thanks so much for saying that, Mark. We're excited about a tremendous amount of things. We began just before the new year. We began a partnership with Telefunken, Telefunken was a microphone company and a radio company, et cetera, back in the day. They used to,
know, yeah.
You already know, of course. Well, anyway, they're back in business. They happen to be very close to my hometown, where all of my roots started with this whole thing. And they've sponsored our show. We've had product placement with them. They outfitted our whole studio with all of their gear. We are looking forward to the future with expanding that partnership with some things I can't really talk about yet, but some things I can. It will involve music, adding music to our show, which is exciting for us because I think that that's something that is lacking. We're not able to, have live music because we do it out of our home. But all of a sudden, once another location is brought into the mix, then those things become possible. So also, our show will be growing in different directions, and we're excited about that. There's not too much I can say, as you know how these things go. But I think growth, to sum it up, we're excited about growth and expansion and the future. Mark, we're so stinking excited about the future. It really is. We are still going through a tough time. We went through a tough time, but in the weirdest way, it's a great time to be us, Mark. It's a great time to be us. It really is.
I'll give you something to think about this year. And this is a quote that I was told to me by Tommy Kendall, the great race driver. He was my 1,000th guest. He was also on the show, I believe, for my 500th.
Wow.
And my 500th show, he said, "Hey, Mark, this is pretty cool, 500 shows. When you do your 1,000th, I'll come back and interview you."
Oh.
And which he did, which I thought was very kind of him. I've since become, buddies with him. And he said a great quote. And your comment about this year being great for you is, "You are perfect for this time."
Mm.
And if you just remember that, no matter what you're going through, whether it's a challenge or a success, you are perfect for this time. It invokes all sorts of wonderful things in your imagination and your brain. And it really, to me, it's like being grateful all the time removes the negativity in your life, because you can't be negative when you're grateful. So just remember Tommy Kendall's, "You are perfect for this time." Yeah, shout out to Tommy. Thank you for that one.
That's
very
wonderful.
Cool. It's
that.
exciting.
I love that you brought up being grateful. That's a very big one for us. And that wasn't in my previous life, in Nicole's previous life. And now it's, like I said, in the DNA. So.
Well, and Telefunken is pretty cool, because what came to mind when you said those words was the old Porsche 550 that was sponsored by Telefunken during the Carrera Pan America races, when they would doll up the cars with all the graphics and everything and race them through Mexico. I mean, that wonderful
all hand painted.
Yeah.
With
and
the Fletcher Aviation, beautiful.
Yeah, Fletcher. Yeah, that was on those Porsches. So there you go. That is very, very cool. All right. Well, Jay, up next is the last lap. Before we put the pedal to the metal, let's say thank you to today's Cars Yeah sponsor. What's the worst thing for your car's interior? No, it's not that milkshake the kid spilled in the back seat. It's the sun. Harmful UV rays cook your automobile's interior hour after hour when it's parked outside, even on a cloudy day. What's the solution? Covercraft sunscreens. They protect your dash, seats, and interior finishes from those damaging UV rays while keeping the interior temperature tolerable, even on the hottest summer days. No more painfully sizzling seats and steering wheels for you. They unfold quickly and easily install, stay where you put them, and are custom patterned for an exact fit. The foam core acts as a cooling insulator, and you can get yours in different colors and finishes. And they even fold up easily and store under your seat or on the floor. I've used Covercraft sunscreens for years, and they are a fast and easy solution that protect my beloved cars when they're not in the garage. Learn more and order yours at covercraft.com. Want to protect your entire vehicle? Get a car cover from Covercraft. They have those too. That's covercraft.com, and tell them Mark sent you. Are you looking for a way to get your products or services into the ears of thousands of automotive enthusiasts around the globe? I can help. This is Mark Green here at Cars Yeah, and I'd be honored to be an influencer and ambassador for your brand in a unique and personal way. 5 days a week, thousands of subscribers and listeners enjoy the Cars Yeah podcast and website. Contact me today and I'll show you how at mark@carsyeah.com, or connect with me through the Cars Yeah website at carsyeah.com. Hey, Mark Green here from the Cars Yeah podcast. Did you know you can now see me on the Cars Yeah TV show? That's right, Cars Yeah is now on MAV TV. I visit some of the past Cars Yeah guests and take you along for the ride. Go to mavtv.com to learn more, where you can enjoy Cars Yeah TV MAV TV is also available on DirecTV, Fubo TV, Fios by Verizon, or you can stream it through mavtv.com online. And they said I only had a face for podcasting. All right, Jay, we are back, and here's a very introspective question. We've kind of delved pretty deep into your subconscious in the way you think today, but this one's...
Sorry, Mark.
No, I love it. I love it. That's how I get to know people. This one is a little unique, though. If you woke up tomorrow and you were manifested into a vehicle, not what you want to be, but how you perceive yourself, and you were parked in the garage, what would Nicole find out there?
Oh, boy, that's great. Wow. Yeah, I have no say in it, right? It's just what it is. You may think this is the easy way out, but I can back it up. I am the yellow car that sits in the garage below us currently.
Okay.
That car already is a personification of me and who we are and what we go through. Man, that car was cool and expensive when it came out. And it has mileage and dirt and experience on it now. And it is by no means the pick of the litter. And yet somehow it fits like a glove. It's familiar. It'll get you where you want to go. There's something comforting about it, like an old slipper. I feel like that car is me and I am that car. So if you wanted to know something else out there, I'd have to say something else really cool, but old and rugged too.
Okay, now our listeners are trying to read your mind. What is that yellow car?
Oh, I'm so sorry.
I know what it is.
Forgive me. It's a 2000. Well, it's so funny because the car has the personality sort of has superseded the car at this point. But it's a yellow, speed yellow Porsche 911 2005 997S done up California style. So basically a canyon carving rally racer.
Nice, awesome. Well, I was going to say, I know what the car is, but I'm going, I don't think he ever said what it was. So all our listeners are like, what the heck is this guy?
This is why I'm not meant for podcasting. I need a camera, Mark.
Oh, don't worry, bud. Don't worry, my friend. You're doing great. You're doing great. All right. We are up to the checkered flag, and I'm going to fire off a series of questions and ask you to give us some very quick blips of that 911S throttle. So here we go. What's the best automotive advice you've ever received?
Ooh, automotive. Boy, that's a good one. Other than buy low and sell high.
That's probably the wisest one.
No, I can give you a good one. Trust the car. Trust the car. Trust the car every time. And I'm speaking specifically with Porsche, but I bet it works with every single one. Trust the car. It will trust you back.
There you go. Would you share one of your personal habits you believe has contributed to your many successes over the years?
Focus. Without a doubt, focus. The ability to turn other people and other things off. Get that tunnel vision. Accomplish whatever you got to accomplish. Don't worry about what they're saying. At some point, what they are saying is going to change and it will be in your favor.
Yeah, absolutely. Would you share a resource that you found particularly interesting or helpful that maybe our listeners might find as well?
Yeah, I hate to say this. It sounds a little bit trite, but YouTube has been an endless wealth of information for me, both in car knowledge, learning how to do things on my own car, certainly learning about other cars and other car aficionados like ourselves. Yeah. YouTube for sure has been something I never expected would be an encyclopedia for me.
It's incredible. Yeah, I learned so many things.
Resource.
I learned how to become a podcaster watching YouTube tutorials.
Are you kidding?
Didn't have a clue what I was doing. Nope, I didn't know what a podcast was 6 months before I started this. So, yeah, I'm not kidding. I watched a ton of YouTube tutorials, also how to build my own website, how to code, all of that. Yeah, how to record, how to edit, all on YouTube. And I've learned
Oh, I'm sorry. I don't mean to cut you off. If you're ever in Los Angeles, my goodness, we would love to have you on our show too.
Hey, that'd be cool. That'd be awesome.
We would love to make it happen.
Well, I love that. I'm actually going to be down there in March. I'm going to be the celebrity MC for the celebrity stage for the Classic Auto Show in Costa Mesa, California, March 16th and 17th. So maybe we can stay an extra day and we can set something up. We'll see.
That sounds fantastic. And I'm marking in my calendar those dates as that sounds like a wonderful event.
I think it is a wonderful event. It's going to be fantastic. Here's the cool thing about that event is they have over 2,000 classic cars at this event. It's a 2-day thing. Costa Mesa. It's at the Orange County Fairgrounds. And I'm going to be interviewing about 8 or 9 celebrity guests. These are guys and a gal that has, I think Lynn St. James also going to be there, that have shows on TV. And they've all been past guests on my podcast. So it's like kind of a regathering of friends, if you will. So
that's fantastic. That sounds like a blast.
I'll reach out to you beforehand and maybe we can get together. I'd be honored to be a guest on your show. That would be fun. Oh, then the camera's on, the pressure's on. So.
Yeah, now I can relax.
Exactly. Well, I did just launch a TV show, so I'm getting more comfortable in front of a camera here. So
all about it. I can't wait to talk about it on It's Tonight's show.
Cars, yeah, we will. Okay, there you go. It's a date. Very cool, Jay. Well, if I could wave my magic wand and arrange for you to have a drink or a meal with an automotive person, living or deceased, doesn't matter, someone from the industry, who would that person be?
Ooh, that's a good one. I'm going to go deceased solely because I believe we'll have the opportunities for the living ones. I'm going to go back to Paul Newman because we started there. Yeah. I would like to be sitting up at the Lime Rock Club, having a non-alcoholic beverage with at this point in this reality, my friend Paul Newman, looking out at the track, watching people turn some laps on a Tuesday.
Well, he makes some pretty good iced teas. I've had some of those. So yeah,
sounds perfect. His lemonade and iced tea is beautiful.
Yeah, perfect. Maybe some Paul Newman popcorn in the bowl next to that drink as well.
It sounds great. All of it sounds beautiful to me.
Yeah,
up at Lime Rock, there is no better.
Absolutely. How about a book? Is there a book you've read that you'd like to share with our listeners?
That's interesting. There are a lot of books. You know what I'm reading right now? Boy, it seems like a theme show. I hate to keep coming back to it, but he gave it to me when he was here as a guest on our podcast. But I'm reading the Magnus Walker Get Out and Drive book right now.
Oh, cool. Yeah.
So I'm enjoying it, so I would recommend it to people.
There you go.
Yeah.
Awesome.
I know it's not really inspirational, but actually it kind of is. It's his message and it's his story, which in my opinion is quite inspirational.
Oh, his whole story is inspirational, what he's done. I mean, he's a one-man marketing wrecking ball, and I mean that in the most positive of ways. Incredible what he's done and continues to do to this day. I mean, I'm just in awe of that guy. Well, listeners, you can find all these great resources that Ryan has shared on his Cars Yeah show notes page. Just go to carsyeah.com, type in J, and it's the letter J, and that's really his name, the letter J, and then his last name is Ryan, Ryan, J, Ryan, and you'll find all these cool links. All right, Jay, we are up to the checkered flag, and this last question can be a bit of a doozy. Today, I'm going to buy you any cool collector car in the world. Doesn't matter who owns it, where it is. I'm going to park it in your garage, but there's a couple rules to this game you've got to abide by. One is you can't sell it to buy a bunch of other toys with. So if you want a Ferrari GTO, you're stuck with it. Not a bad thought.
I see.
You have to drive it.
It's expensive, right? Sure.
Well, yeah, exactly. You have to drive it. No garage queens. But I think now that you've had this epiphany in life, as I have, it's okay to drive cars. That's what they're there for. But it's the only one collector car you can have. You can keep your Porsche. Just keep that in the garage. That's fine. But it's the only one collector car, true collector car that you can have. So what's it going to be?
And it can be very specific.
Whatever you want, my friend.
Yeah, I think it would have to be David Letterman's 356.
Oh, okay.
There will come a time one day where he doesn't want it anymore, whether he's no longer here or perhaps hopefully before. I think that would be the car. Just because of my connection to both the history of David Letterman and Porsche. To me, it's the lineage on both.
Okay, so tell me a little bit about his because I'm unaware of a 356 that he has. I've learned of some of the past cars he's owned. What year and model is the 356?
Couldn't tell you. I couldn't tell you. This is a childhood memory at this point.
Oh, you know what I mean? So are you sure he still has the car?
No, not at all. But that's the car.
Okay. Oh, you know I see.
Whatever it was, it locked in there.
I see what you're saying. Okay. Okay. Gee, you're not going to make this very easy. All right. Well, I'll tell you what.
If you want to just buy me any old car, then it's going to. I have to fill in the 993, which I always wanted and never ever got. Just a straight bare bones 993 6-speed.
Well, I'll tell you one thing I do know about David Letterman, and I don't know if he has it today. I'm sure a listener out there will email me and correct me. I believe he had a 1956, which is a pretty cool year, 356 1500. Now, this is where it gets better. GS Carrera.
Mm.
And if my memory's right, and if he still has that car, that, my friend, is a very expensive and special car.
Oh, there you go. That's why I wanted it.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, darn it. Oh, my guess always raid my piggy bank.
Now, be true. Did you look that up right now, or did you really know
No,
that?
I heard of and I'll tell you why I've heard of this is I'm a big Porsche guy, and I love 356s. I've always wanted one. And I think it was probably maybe it was during Car Week. Somebody was talking about celebrities and cars they own. I think it was Spike Ferriston I might have been talking to. Of course, he knows Letterman. He wrote, for the show. It might have been Spike that told me that, and I hope my memory's right. And Spike's been a guest a few times. If he's listening, he can call me and correct me on this. But of course,
he would know. Somebody told me that he actually, he drove Letterman's cars and stuff. Somebody told me. So if that's true, then he would definitely know.
Well, he's the car matchmaker. His television show Car Matchmaker. I mean, Spike's
bought every season. That was my favorite thing he's done. I bought every season on iTunes. I still own them.
Oh, perfect. Well, I'm pretty sure it was Spike that told me this, and somebody out there will tell me if David still has that car or not. But it's a nice car, and you don't forget something like a GS Carrera. I mean, that's very special. Very unique.
I didn't realize even that it was that special of a car. So this is very cool, even for me to learn.
Well, now you know even more. So
Mark, that 951 I only bought because David Letterman drove a 951 around town.
There you go.
That's the truth.
Well, there you go. That's a successful TV show guy to aspire to be. So no problems there.
One day.
There you go. And I have no doubt, my friend. I have no doubt. Well, you've taken me on an awesome ride. I've enjoyed learning more about you. I'm going to really enjoy coming down and being on your show. That's a pretty darn cool deal. I'll let my listeners know when that happens. I want to thank you for sharing your automotive journey with me and the listeners. Could you offer us one little parting piece of wisdom or guidance before you rip off into the sunset in David Letterman's 356 Porsche?
Absolutely. Follow your dreams, overcome your fears, and stop listening to other people. Make your own soup.
Love it. Make your own soup. And again, what's the best way for our listeners to learn more about you and the It's Tonight Show on YouTube?
Absolutely. Follow us, Porsche Life, one word. Porsche Life 111. Porsche Life 111. It's Instagram, YouTube. I think it's everything. Porsche Life 111.
There you go. Listeners, I'll make sure I put links to that on Jay's show notes page. And again, when you look him up on the Cars Yeah website, it's the letter J, last name Ryan. You'll find everything listed right there. I encourage you to find him on YouTube, subscribe, follow. What he and Nicole are doing is very unique. It's very cool, very fun. They talk to a plethora of really, really interesting people. So check it out. The It's Tonight Show on YouTube. Jay, thanks for being so generous today with your time, your expertise, and for sharing your many wonderful experiences with me and the Cars Yeah listeners. Until you and I talk again, my friend, which may be very soon here, I'll see you down the road.
It's been an absolute pleasure, Mark. I really appreciate you having me. Thanks so much.
You're welcome. You take care of your cars, but who takes care of your investments? Tune-ups aren't just for engines. Updating your financial plan is important too. Your GPS may take you from A to B, but it won't help you on the road to financial freedom. For that, you need a good co-pilot and a very trusted advisor. Chris Kimball, CFP, is just the man for the job. He'll guide you down that road without driving you crazy. For over 25 years, Chris has helped people just like you and me with their financial planning and investments. With a master's degree in financial services, he is eminently qualified. And he's a car guy too. Learn more at chrisvkimball.com or call 866-ON-A-PLAN. Securities through Money Concepts Capital Corp. Member FINRA SIPC. CK Financial Services is not affiliated with Money Concepts Capital Corp.
Thank you so much for joining us on today's ride here at Cars Yeah. Drive on over to carsyeah.com to find show notes and inspiring automotive fun. Download your free copy of Filler Up, a fun book filled with gorgeous photographs of fuel filler fun, including quotes from more inspiring automotive enthusiasts. Download your copy today, and we'll see you next time on Cars Yeah.